As parents get older, the question of what to do with the family home can become front and center. Should mom and dad sell it and live off the sales proceeds? Or should they move out and rent the property out? What should they do when one of the spouses ultimately dies? As the saying unfortunately goes, nothing is certain except death and taxes, both of which end up coming into play here. Hi, I'm Andrew Bethel, and while everyone's situation is going to be different, today I'm going to tell you about why it may be in everyone's best interest, that is in the family, for mom and dad to keep that family home rather than ultimately selling it. Now, owning a home comes with a lot of perks, which is a great way to build generational wealth by passing that home on to your children. However, we also need to consider tax implications in order to maximize how much of that wealth can be kept within the family to begin with. Keeping in mind, everything I'm about to talk about here applies to all homeowners, not just the super rich. Capital gains taxes are taxes levied on the gain in value when we convert assets from one thing to another, typically by selling them, such as when you sell your house. If you sell your property for more than you purchased it for, then you've gained and the government wants to tax that gain. The difference between what you paid for the asset and what you ultimately sold it for. However, our tax code allows for us to minimize that tax so long as the property, that is the house, is inherited from the owner at their death. Typically, if mom and dad were to purchase a house for $100,000, for example, and sold it 30 years later for $400,000, they would need to pay taxes on that gain of $300,000. However, if mom and dad's son were to inherit that property from mom and dad, and then the son sold the property, they could potentially pay $0 in capital gains. And this is a result of the son receiving a step up in basis to the fair market value on the property as of mom and dad's date of death, whoever died last. Thus, even though mom and dad bought the property for $100,000, if the property is valued at $400,000 at their passing and the son sells it for that much, well, the son hasn't realized a gain as far as the tax code is concerned, and therefore pays no dollars in capital gains taxes. Going further, if he were to sell it for $450,000, for example, then the son would only pay taxes on that $50,000 gain from the date of death value to the date of sale. I hope you can see how a process like this can really build generational wealth. Now, I'm sure your next question, though, is what if a spouse dies and the survivor needs to sell the property? Does the spouse receive the same gain? And that answer is, well, partially. Let's say husband dies first, but both he and wife are on title as joint tenants with the right of survivorship, meaning the property goes to wife automatically. Since wife is on title, her 1/2 interest does not step up, meaning her cost basis would still be at that $100,000 they paid initially. However, the husband's 1/2 interest does step up to the fair market value as of his date of death. This means that if wife were to sell the property shortly thereafter, she would still qualify for that step up in basis on the husband's half, significantly reducing her tax burden, even though it wouldn't be as high as her son's savings would be if mom were to simply keep the property for the rest of her lifetime instead. As you can see, it is more tax advantageous for the heirs of mom and dad if they were to keep the family home in their names, and for their children, mom and dad's children, to inherit the property rather than the parents selling it during their lifetimes and paying the full or partially reduced capital gains tax rate. And the final generational wealth saver is for mom and dad to put their house in a trust so that the children can then save on the massive cost of going to probate court to inherit the property in the first place. Now, you should watch our video on the cost of probate for more details on that. It often shocks people when we lay the numbers out for them. Finally, all this is not to say that there aren't other tax advantages to consider before selling or keeping your home. For example, here in California, we're allowed we're allowed a credit for $250,000 for individuals or $500,000 for married couples on capital gains before having to pay taxes if they sell their property, so long as some other requirements are met. However, we'll talk about that in more detail in another video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out some of our other excellent videos here, but don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and tell us what you'd like for us to cover down in the comments below.